Manx Radio Sport.
Good evening and welcome once again to Friday Sport Preview on Manx Radio. I'm Rob Pritchard.
And I'm Darren Timson.
Here to take a look at the latest sporting action to come on Ireland this weekend. So, coming up tonight.
This weekend sees the start of the IoM Women's football season, whilst Week 3 awaits for the Men's League this Saturday.
In rugby, Douglas are back on home soil, hoping to recover from back-to-back defeats in their opening two games, whilst there's also a series of domestic friendlies on Ireland this weekend.
And as we enter the second week of the Manx mixed hockey season, we hear about the fixtures to look forward to tomorrow.
And that is all to come this evening. So turning to football first of all, we just have to start with a quick announcement from the world of Manx football before we bring in Tony Mepham in the next couple of moments to chat about the latest fixtures coming up this weekend. Well, it's been announced by Moran AFC today. The whole Moran family is saddened to learn of the passing of former Moran junior player Lucas Martin, who tragically died this week, aged just 21. Lucas represented Moran for the majority of his junior football, and Moran describes him as a fantastic footballer, but most importantly, an amazing lad and friend to so many. The club goes on to state it'll be holding a minute's applause tomorrow ahead of their game against St George's in the Premier League, and it will take place a few moments before the 2:30pm kickoff at Moran Memorial Playing Fields. And Moran AFC also goes on to say, all our thoughts are with his family and friends at this extremely difficult time. Well, now we turn to the Manx footballing fixtures taking place this weekend. And not only is the Manx men's season in full flow, but it is a big weekend as the Isle of Man women's football season gets underway on Sunday. Well, taking a look at those 2 days to come, we're going to bring him back in. It's Tony Mepham. Tony, very good evening.
Good evening, Rob. It's not too good out there, is it? The weather is absolutely chucking it down. I don't think it'll affect the pitches. They're pretty hard at the moment, but one or two with that big sort of downpour might just have taken a little bit of damage. But we'll keep you posted throughout the night or tomorrow morning, and hopefully 2:30 tomorrow we've got a full programme.
Let's hope so. Well, let's take a look at that programme, shall we? So taking a look at Saturday, all games kicking off at 2:30pm. We'll start in the Canada Life Men's Premier League. 6 fixtures in this weekend, and we'll start over at Gary Moore. Two teams who've had interesting starts to the season, it's fair to say. Union Mills, they're going to be hosting Braddon.
Yeah, it is, and it's the game that you're going to send me to, so I'm looking forward to watch this one. And when you look at Braddon, the promoted side, not expected to sort of be in that position they are at the moment. Mid-table, they had a great result against Douglas Royal, and I think certainly Will Smith's team will be looking to continue this great form of football that they've been playing over the last couple of weeks. But Union Mills, as we've seen many times over the last few years, they're growing a team there, and even though they're down towards the bottom at the moment, 11th, they played 2 and lost them both. Paul Guyver will get that right, I'm pretty certain, and tomorrow afternoon I think will be the starting time for him. Union Mills to win.
And then we look up to the north of the island and the current league frontrunners, Laxey. It was quite an extraordinary result last week on home soil, 5-4 winners of Union Mills. They have to make the journey up the coastline and up to Ramsey over at the Balaclone Stadium. And on paper at least, it may be not as straightforward as some might have thought this fixture last season.
No, it's not. And I think when you look at Laxey's team, and I've had a look at the sort of expected starting lineup tomorrow, and it's pretty strong to be fair. But Ramsey are really good. They've got a lot of good young players in there. I noticed this week, it didn't take him long, did it? He transferred from Ramsey to Michael. Now he's transferred back from Michael to Ramsey, and that's Dominic Parrish. But he's a good player, and with people like Dylan Pickles there as well, Matthew Montgomery. They really are strong, Ramsey, and it just showed last week that Laxey, as you rightly say, didn't have it their own way because Union Mills were leading and playing some good football, but they held their nerve. Jordan Cooper's been banging form at the moment, scoring plenty of goals. And when you look at Tina Garvey in midfield as well, makes things tick. You've got Ryan Gartland in there as well. They really are strong, Laxey, this season, and that's why top of the table with 6 points, and I think they'll take the points away from Ramsey tomorrow afternoon.
Very well, and then the next fixture we look at, we're talking about journeys across the Isle of Man for a football game. This is probably going to be the biggest of the lot, I guess, because Russian United, they'll be hosting Ayr United.
Yeah, there's no motorway cafes on this trip, is there? So you've got to set off a little bit earlier. But I noticed that quite a few clubs now actually meet up at maybe 11 o'clock and have a bit of breakfast and talk about the game that's going to come out in the afternoon and then head off to the game. But Russian against Ayr, Russian haven't had the start that they wanted. They're down on quality, you can see that. as well with Ayr United. Missed the first game of the season, got the second one out of the way. And it was all down to new signing Chris Duggan, wasn't it? He got a hat-trick. Jeb Fisher got sent off as well, so he won't play tomorrow afternoon. But Ayr are another team to be tipped at the top of the table. They won it 2 seasons ago, and I'm pretty certain this season they're looking to try and take it away from teams like Laxey and Peel. Going to go for Ayr to win.
OK, then out to the west of the island, the Premier League champions currently, Peel. They'll be up against a newly promoted St Mary's side who got off to a blistering start at St John's, but came up against a tougher challenge against Russian United in a 3-3 draw last weekend.
Yeah, they did, and it sort of cost them a little bit dearly, that result. But Alex Harrison's back in there, so he'll get things sort of all organised out for them. But promoted side to be in there, third in the league, they'll take that. I know they've only played 2, and I watched that first game of the season against St John's, and they were pretty impressive. And the man that stood out that game was Adam Adebayi, and if he can sort of get the goals, then when you look at Owen Canepa back in there as well, between them two, I think they could cause some problems tomorrow for Peel. Peel's played well first half last week. Second half struggled a little bit, I thought. I'm lucky to get away with it. That's my view. But tomorrow is going to be a close game, and it's a fantastic place to play football at Peel. I'm going to go for Peel to win.
OK, well, we talked about a long journey in one of the games in the Canada Life Men's Premier League this weekend. The next one, not so. Only a couple of yards, in fact, I think it's fair to say. You could call it a Ballafletcher derby, if you like, because Douglas Royal are taking on Corinthians. Yeah,
derby day up there. So the first team are playing on Douglas Royal, and the combination sides are playing on Corinthians. And these 4 teams as well will adhere to a minute's applause for Lucas Martin, who obviously lost his life this week, and he played for Douglas Royal as well, and we're only too glad to allow this to happen. When you look at Douglas Royal, it's not the start they wanted. Michael Fitzmaurice frustrated. He misses tomorrow, so the manager's not going to be there. But Corinthians, I've seen their starting lineup. I'm not allowed to announce it, but it's pretty strong tomorrow. And the young guns who have been firing on all cylinders over the last couple of weeks, they're back in. And also Connor Clark's back in as well. So looking impressive against Douglas Royal. It's a derby, Rob, so it's always a battle. And there's no love lost between the 2 sets of players because they want the bragging rights. But I think Corinthians will win both games.
Very well, then rounding off the Canada Life Men's Premier League tomorrow, it is over at the Memorial Playing Fields, Morown against St George's.
And St George's under a little bit of pressure, aren't they, with the small squad that they've got? They've got no combination to dip into, so Johnny Myers knows that. Haven't seen Johnny's team this week, but Morown, they battled well last week, didn't they? And they deserve the points, and if they can sort of show that same grit and determination, then I think they can possibly sneak 3 points away from St George's. I just got a feeling that St George's know that they're under pressure to get as many points as they can against the teams that are going to be battling with them down the bottom. So I'm going to go for Geordies to win.
Very well. Let's have a quick look through the other divisions then, shall we? And DPS Limited Division 2. Onken, the current front-runners after the first couple of weeks. We have 5 games there in Division 2 this weekend. Yeah,
and there's some close ones in there. D&D struggling a little bit against the top side in Castletown, so I'm going to go for Castletown to win. Maloo against Onken. Onken are scoring for fun, aren't they? Absolute nightmare. And it's always nice when you see a team relegated. It's disappointing for them, but suddenly they've bounced back. They've had 2 strong wins on the bounce, so this will hopefully be the 3rd one for them. Ramsey Youth Centre against Governors. They played well last week in their first game of the season, so they'll be looking to see if they can take the points away from Ramsey Youth Centre. I don't think they're strong enough. Jims against Michael. Michael want to get promoted this season, and I think they've got the players there to do it, so go for Michael to win that. And Old Boys and Colby 2 out of 2, and they'll be looking to make it 3 out of 3 against an Old Boys side, relegated but still strong. A lot of seasoned pros in there. Going to go for Old Boys to win.
OK, then we go into the combination divisions. Canada Life Combination 1, we have 5 games tomorrow.
Yeah, we had a massive surprise last week, didn't we, when Russian lost out. That's they didn't lose out last season, and here they are already 2 games and lost one of them. So Ayr against Russian, I'm going to go for Ayr United possibly to take some points out of this one, because Ayr United, with being a stronger first team, has made the combination stronger. Let's go at the top of the sheet. Braddon against Union Mills. Again, Braddon is a mirror of the first team. A lot of good young players coming through. They're doing well. I'm going to go for Braddon just to sneak it. Laxey against Ramsey. I think Laxey the same. A lot of players have dipped down into the combination, made them stronger, so go for Laxey. But I think Michael Fernandez is missing tomorrow, so he's one of their league goal scorers. St Mary's against Peel. close battle. I'm going to go for a draw. And Corinthians against Douglas Royal, as I indicated before, I'm going to go for Corinthians to win.
And 5 games as well in combination 2 to round off Saturday's fixtures.
Yeah, Castletown against Douglaston District, so I'm going to go for Castletown to win. Governors Athletic against Ramsey Centre and Old Boys. This game's being played at Colby. I'm going to go for Ramsey Centre. Great start for them. Michael against Jims. I go for Michael. And Colby against Douglas High School Old Boys. I'm going to go for Colby just to sneak it.
Those are your fixtures for Saturday. Then we go into Sunday, and as we mentioned before, it is another landmark at the start of the season because the Isle of Man women's season is getting underway this weekend. 3 games at 2 o'clock on Sunday. Tony, your thoughts?
The first set of fixtures were released last week. The remaining fixtures programme was sent out today. I'll send you a copy on tonight. But Corinthian against Onken. Corinthians, 1 or 2 players missing, but I still think they'll be strong enough to win that. Douglas Royal against Maloo. Maloo came into the league a couple of seasons ago now, and they've got some really good players in there, even though a majority of them are hockey, but they've reverted to the sport of football and done really well. But I think Royal are too strong for them. And Peel against Castletown. Castletown struggled last year at times to get a team out, but should be good. But Peel are always the teams at the top, or the team at the top with Corinthians, and I think that'll be the same this season.
Who knows?
Exactly. Watch this space.
Indeed. And then last but certainly not least on Sunday, we also have 2 games over at the Bowl in Douglas in the Masters football.
Yeah, we had first set of fixtures last week, and we had 2 cracking games in Ayr against Colby, and Colby won that one 4-0. Strong team in there. And in the other one, it was another close battle, and you just see battles right the way through this league this season. Douglas Royal against D&D. I think Royal should win that. And Corinthians against Laxey. It's always a good game. Corinthians got a good side out for Sunday, so I'm going to go for Corinthians to win that. 3:40 kick-off of the Bowl.
Perfect. Well, Tony, thank you very much as always for your time. We'll be catching up with you tomorrow. Well, of course, tomorrow as well, the NWCFL Premier Division FC Isle of Man are in action away at Squires Gate, hoping to end a run of 4 games without a win as they head to the Brian Addison Stadium against the Squires Gate side that are currently second from bottom. I'm actually going to bring my co-host Darren in on this one here. He's been following a couple of FC Isle of Man's most recent games. So, Darren, it's been a tricky bit of a spell for FC Isle of Man results-wise from the games that you've been seeing. What have you made of Paul Jones's side?
Yeah, you could say that. But they'll definitely be looking to come back, get a result at the weekend. That's the start of their 4 games away now, isn't it?
It is indeed, yep. They have a stretch of 4 away games and then back at the Bowl on the 30th of September. So another bit of time on the road as well.
Yeah, another tough period for them. But they didn't do too badly, to be fair to them, in their last away period. I think they won 3 out of the 6 they had. So if they could, go for something similar, win a couple of games, get a few points on the board, then I think they'll be happy with that, really.
And they've got to be wary because this is a Squires Gate team that beat them home and away last season. How important is it that Paul Jones and his side, and he has mentioned this week, aren't complacent in this? They don't look at the table to deciding how good the opposition could be. Oh,
it's hugely important, but I think for FC Isle of Man, they have to focus on their own performances. They have to get results on the board. I don't think they can really afford to be complacent at this moment in time. For them, it's just about gaining momentum, and if they can come back to the ball with a decent points return, then I think Paul Jones will be very happy. Well, that game, Squires Gate versus FC Isle of Man, kicking off at the Brian Addison Stadium in the NWCFL Premier Division at 2 p.m. tomorrow. Well, it's time for our attention to turn elsewhere, and we now turn things to rugby. Darren. Yeah, so sorry for that one. Douglas Rugby Club are so far winless in their opening 2 games of the season. However, there are hopes they can kickstart their campaign on home soil this weekend. The island side are back at the Portachi, up against an opponent who's also aiming to discover some form in these early stages. Here with more details is Manx Radio's rugby correspondent, Dave Christian.
Regional 2 Northwest. Douglas have had, you said, a difficult start. I've seen a stuttering start, but whatever way you want to describe it, they've played 2, lost 2. Now, their losing margin's very small. Their points difference is only -8 at the moment. They've picked up a losing bonus point from both games, but they really need to pick up a win now just to boost the confidence in the squad more than anything else. They've got Liverpool St Helens this weekend. LSH, as they're known, are bottom of the table. table. They've also played 2, lost 2. Points difference of minus 67, and they haven't picked up any bonus points. They got thumped last week by Crewe and Nantwich. Douglas have played Liverpool St Helens quite a few times over the years, and they'll have a fair record. I mean, it's not totally dominated by Douglas or Liverpool St Helens. Game's at Portishead, so Douglas will have the advantage of the home support. 1 o'clock kickoff though, so it's important to note that's a 1 o'clock kickoff at Portishead. Looking at the stats, they've met each other 6 times in total, and Liverpool St Helens just on top marginally 4-2. And Douglas beat them the last time they played them 91 points to 12 back in 2017. Prior to that, they also won away in at Liverpool St Helens in September 16, 21-18 that one. So those games are so long ago, the squads will have totally changed, so there's no real comparison to be had. Douglas makes some changes this week as well. Rob Todd's going to get a start at loosehead prop. James Goo comes into the team now. That's a new name for me, so we'll wait and see how he gets along. He's in the second row with Connor Garland. Back row remains unchanged, which is always good. Cal Dentith, Percy Hampton and Blake Snell. Blake Snell takes over the captaincy though, because Rob Todd starts in place of Captain Simon Hoddenott, who's not available this weekend. Harry Hewson comes in on the right wing. That's his first start of the season. And on the bench we see Owen Carvin get a first mention of the season. Coach Phil Kringle picks himself as backup, and Bryn Snellgrove pops up on the bench as well, also for the first time this season. I'm going to guess that isn't the team Douglas would want to select. No disrespect to any of the people involved. They'll all be excellent players, but I suspect Douglas might be struggling a little bit this week with the Rugby World Cup going on and players disappearing off out there. Fingers crossed they get a decent result from this one. Home advantage, 1 o'clock kickoff, big support down there at Portishead. The World Cup games will be on the TV afterwards as well. It should be a great day down there for them, and let's hope they can mark it with the 5 points that they desperately need just to pull themselves away from the bottom of the table early on.
Meanwhile, there are also a series of domestic friendlies taking place on Ireland this weekend. On Saturday, Ramsey under-16s play Limbs under-16s at 10:30am at Morag Park. Then at 2:15pm the same day, Vagabonds face an Isle of Man Barbarians team at Ballakilly Park. On Sunday, one more friendly match awaits as Vagabonds under-16s play Limbs under-16s at Ballafletcher at 10:45am.
Thank you very much, Darren. So turning finally tonight to hockey, and after a busy and entertaining opening weekend 6 days ago, the Manx mixed hockey season enters week 2 this Saturday. Fixtures across all 4 senior leagues as well as the under-15 division back on the cards once again throughout Saturday. So what are the predictions this time around? Well, I caught up with our hockey correspondent, Ben Cunningham.
Manx Radio Sport.
Let's start then with the Mixed Premier League this weekend, and all games pushing back at 2:05. We'll start over at the NSC, where it is an intra-club derby as the defending Mixed Premier League champions Backers A host Backers B.
Yeah, this will be a good game. Backers A against their B team, Backers B. You'd have to say the A team will come out on top in this game, but it'll be good to see both the A against the B, and should be a good friendly game.
And then going up to the north of the island at Ramsey Grammar School, and it's going to be Vikings A against Ramsey A.
Yeah, Ramsey A narrowly just lost out to Vikings B last week, so they'll be hoping they could maybe get one over the A team. However, Vikings A did have a really good strong start last week, so I think Ramsey might have a bit of work against them this week, but I think Vikings A will come out on top on that one.
Vikings B, they're going to be travelling to QE2 at 2:05 on Saturday. Tricky tie for them against Valkyries A.
Yeah, I reckon this one will be quite close, actually, to be fair. Valkyries only just beat Castletown 1-0 last week, but Vikings B will be on a high after getting that win over Ramsey. So I think this one will be quite close, but I think Valkyries will just have the edge on it.
The fourth of the 4 games, also at 2:05, is at Castle Rushen High School down in the south. Could be a potentially interesting tie on paper, with Castletown Celts hosting Harlequins A.
Yeah, close game ahead, in this one. I mean, Harlequins managed to keep it single figures last week against Backers A in their first Premier League game, so hats off to them. And they did get a goal against them, which was, an achievement definitely out of that game. Castletown Celts, though, of course, They lost out to Valkyries last week. I think it'll be quite close, this one. Might maybe just be a goal or maybe 2 goals in between it.
Moving on to the other divisions, we'll go to Division 1 and we have 3 games there this Saturday.
Yep, and the first game is Valkyries B against Backers C, and that's at 12:35 at QE2. I'm going to go for a Valkyries B win there. Second game is at 2:05, and this is Castletown Southerners against Vikings C at King William's College. Castletown Southerners had a fantastic win midweek in their rearranged game from last weekend. And the message from the Valkyries C captain was, I think Castletown Southerners could be a strong contender. So I'm going to go for a Castletown Southerners win there. And then finally at 3:35 at QE2 is Castletown Camags against Valkyries C. This will be a close game, I reckon, maybe one goal between the two.
And then we have 3 games also in Division 2.
Yeah, and the first game in this league sees Vikings E against Backers Colt. Both teams very evenly matched, so this could end as a stalemate there. That's at the NSC. Next game at 12:35 at Ramsey Grammar School sees Ramsey Ravens against Vikings D. I think these two could possibly be in contention here to challenge Castletown Cushacks, who we'll talk about in a bit. Ramsey Ravens did look strong last week, but they only looked strong halfway through their game. So it'll be interesting to see, but Vikings D came out a commanding win last week. And then the final game at 12:35 at Castle Rushen High School sees Castletown Cushacks against Valkyries D. I think Cushacks will be just too strong for Valkyries D, but Valkyries D might prove me wrong, we'll see.
And then rounding off the senior leagues this weekend, 3 games in Division 3.
Yeah, so Castletown have got 2 teams in this league, and Harlequins as well, and they both meet this weekend. So Castletown Cosney meet Harlequin C at 11:05 at QE2. I think that one will be a close game. And then the second game is Castletown Carags against Harlequins B. 12:35 at King William's College. I think Harlequins B will probably come out on top on that one. The final game, again, 12:35 at the NSC, is Backers D against Ramsey Rookies, and I'm going to go for a Ramsey Rookies win there.
Finally, the mixed under-15s league. It's a big league this year, as you pointed out last week, and we have 4 games there on Saturday.
Yeah, 4 games, which is great to see. So the first game at 11:05 at Castle Rushen High School is Castletown Sharks against Valkyries under-15s. Second game at Castle Rushen High School again at 3:35 is Vikings under-15s against Castletown Savers. Next game is at 3:35 again at Ramsey Grammar, and that's Harlequins against Ramsey Rogues and Rascals. And then the final game, 3:35, Backers under-15s B against Backers under-15s.
Manx Radio Sport.
Well, that's your football, rugby and hockey action this weekend. But finally, just to wrap things up, Darren, you have a couple of details about some other things happening this weekend.
Yeah, there's a couple more things to look out for. So one of the Isle of Man's largest walking races will have its highest number of participants for more than 10 years this weekend. The end-to-end walk will be held across the island on Sunday, beginning at the Point of Ayr and finishing at the Sound in Cregnish. Also in cycling Isle of Man's sorry for that. Also in cycling Isle of Man's women's teams also making their debut in the national competition on Sunday. Both the women's and men's squads are heading to Northumberland for a day of racing.
Thank you very much, Darren. Thank you for joining us, and thank you to our guests this week, Tony Mepham, Dave Christian and Ben Cunningham. Have yourself a wonderful Friday evening and a wonderful weekend as always. But from us, until next time, it's bye for now.
The Nation Station, Manx Radio.